well. All right, we'll start, but here we go. All right, so guys, as I just was alluding to, the Cowboys are sitting as the proverbial NFL darlings right now at the moment, with a very impressive string of wins against the defending champions, the Eagles 2 weeks ago, well, a week and some change ago, and then a few days ago, beating the defending runner-ups, the Chiefs. So now there's a good old thing called optimism, where realistic optimism has crept into the fold. And before we even get to all that, gentlemen, on this lovely Sunday morning, how are we feeling?
Pretty good, man. It was been one hell of a week, as it relates to all things Cowboys, and hope you guys had a really good Thanksgiving holiday, as I did. But man, it was the football overload this time of year can't be matched. All the college games, obviously the pro games, one of which we're about to get into. It was good stuff, man. Feeling good. And Cliff, man, there's a wind chill of about 29 degrees right now in Dallas, Texas.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
That sounds about right. JC, how you feeling?
Hey man, I'm doing good. See, I'm dressed for the wind chill out there today. Nice little change, but yeah, I mean, I got to echo the sentiments of my man's DB, and it's just, I mean, they just got this thing spaced out to whereas, starting Thursday, at 11, up until now, right? Like you just get football nonstop. A lot of great matchups too, man. I don't know why, for some reason, I'm like, is this the time of year when the only game on is Army Navy? And everybody's sitting up at the house and shit, you know what I'm saying? All the teams, right? But man, there was so many rivalry games, over the weekend. Got a chance to take those in, do a little prospecting. But yeah, man, fantastic to be here, man. Great to be on the SNC with my homies once again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely that time of year, man, for football fans are plenty because bowl season is amongst us. Everybody kind of finished their rival week yesterday and a few days leading up into it. So we saw great games from Texas A&M in Texas. Surprisingly, UCLA hung in there with USC last night, man. But USC, ended up stomping them at the end. But they played a good half.
Rivalry.
Yeah. So shout out to again my guy John Reed, starting center, for closing out, and we'll see how it shakes out for USC going forward. So fight on to the Trojans out there. What else? Any other good any college games you guys saw?
Oh yeah, man. Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah,
that Bama game was a good game.
Bama, Auburn.
Yeah, Bama and Auburn.
Yeah, Bama and Auburn was great.
Iron Bowl.
Oh, for
A&M, Texas.
Shout out to Southern finally getting a win against the much hated Grambling Tigers, which is a major upset.
Yes, they did. Bayou Classic. Yeah.
Shout out to that one too. Because as you know, Southern has been hot trash, and they actually head coach next year, starting first thing of business after the season, is the one NFL Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk. So shout out to Marshall Faulk.
How cool is that?
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Marshall Faulk in Baton Rouge, on the other side of the Mississippi.
Yes, sir. Oh, also too, and not to be not mentioned, shout out to Zen for that, is about Arch Manning, man. Got him up to the 16th rank after beating A&M, who was undefeated. Listen, I'm a Texas guy. I hate Texas A&M, so I was just salivating at the bits. I thought that was going to be the Peter road. I don't care if we're at home or not. So yeah.
Yeah, that might be the breakout for Arch, man. I was impressed.
What do you think about the last
ran a lot more.
Yeah.
He ran a lot more, man. Something I've been begging him to do.
Yeah. I mean, look at the first 3 weeks. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Sark kind of found out what kind of quarterback he had, at least year one, that he's not as advanced throwing as you may have wanted him to be against that level of talent. So what you started to see was, him being one-dimensional and teams just kind of sitting because his arm ain't super great. His processing ain't super fast just yet. but his legs are. So to JC's point, yeah, you start showing a lot of RPO, doing a lot of play action, and you start seeing the results. And so, yeah, man. So shout out to Texas figuring it out.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Texas. Okay. Well, all right, well, when we got it's cool that the landscape of football is good overall, but why we all here. Shout out to XL Pro in the chat as always, man. Salute to you, bro. We're gonna talk about these Dallas Cowboys, man. So as I kind of led in with, this is a good time to be a Cowboy fan, and what I've said about 3-4 weeks ago, something feels different about this season. I can't put my finger on it, but we're starting to see things start to materialize. It's funny what a difference 3 weeks makes in the media. I mean, we were just getting killed left and right. And, before the game, which was my birthday against the Raiders, the dispute was like, can they even beat the Raiders, right? Are we even worth talking about against the Raiders? And then we smacked them. Then it's just the Raiders. And then we go home. It's funny how that stuff goes, man, But here we are 3 weeks up the road, gentlemen. And we've done the live show, so most of you guys know how we feel about our current situation. But let's look forward, man. We got Detroit, man. We're gonna do things a little bit differently since we already did a follow-up show. So, gentlemen, your first, kind of knee-jerk reactions about Detroit and their perception of having that soft middle, having a lot of opportunity to get to Jared Goff. What's your first flash takes about opportunity to take down the Lions, who at one point looked like world beaters? Right now, not so much. So I go ahead and kick it to D Brown, man. Your first takeaway.
Man, I like the matchup. I'll just be very clear and succinct in saying that. And even if the perception, like you alluded to, about them being, soft up the middle and, the ability to perhaps, get to Goff, I think there's substance to that. But I think what you see right now is that, you're catching a Dallas team that is the proverbial hot team. I think Dallas would be a problem for anybody in NFL right now. There is you and Joey both have referenced it multiple times, and it's really been fun to watch over these last 3 weeks to see it come to fruition that there is something different in that locker room. There is something different on that sideline, and it's playing out to be something different on that field. I think Dallas is a team now that senses they can go on that run. I was thinking about my own comments early in the season on the show about this time of year when Dallas, very clearly left some money on the table in some games that they should have won, both against teams that we felt were on the lower rung that have turned it around, i.e. Chicago. But there were some games that they played against some of the upper tier teams that they left on the table. And the bottom line was, that they were L's. However, and in my sentiment, and again, I'll certainly own this, was that you didn't want to get to basically, I think it was the 16th or 17th on that schedule over the last stretch, finishing the season, having to win out. Well, guess what Dallas did? They had to do that. And guess what they're doing? They're doing that. And to come off of these last 2 weeks, beating the 21-point comeback and win over the defending champion Eagles, and just the toe-to-toe, blow-for-blow shootout against the Chiefs. With Patrick Mahomes, and one thing I wanted to bring about on the show was, which I think bleeds over into the Detroit matchup, is when you're in a must-win situation and against Patrick Mahomes, right? And I love the fact that, because the detractors of the many of you that are out there, as our president would say, the millions and millions of detractors that are out there, they find any little thing to nitpick on, right? And one of those, let's just say Mahomes went out and threw for 2 picks and $195 and had a percentage that was barely above 60%, right? Then that would have been the thing. But the thing I love about this is that Dallas gets down to them after an adverse play, Patrick Mahomes played a great game. Patrick Mahomes played like Patrick Mahomes. Played on his level.
Yeah.
Dak matched that level. And you beat Kansas City team 4 days after beating the champs. Went blow for blow with them. Just matched them. End up making the plays, more plays enough to win that game. And now you're going into even bigger must-win situation because guess what? Dallas and Detroit are both on the outside looking in, if the playoffs were to start today's scenario. So I think right now, you've got a really confident team on both sides of the football. Did we ever think we'd say that about as recently as a month ago? But it's amazing how when you trade for a principal piece like a Quentin Williams, you get some guys back like Revel, DeMarvion Overshown, you bring in a Logan Wilson, and guess what? All of a sudden, you start making plays. You start getting timely and meaningful stops, and your offense is going absolutely nuts. And then I'll be damned, they're playing that complimentary football that we hear about all the time. So I like the matchup. As far as Dallas is concerned, I think Dallas will play anybody on their own practice field with the confidence they can win the game. It's going to be one hell of a tough matchup, but I really like Dallas's chances given with what they're doing on the field, the confidence that they have going into Detroit and getting one because, like you said, Cliff, and I landed here, I think Detroit is there to be had.
Well stated. JC, what you got for us?
Yeah, you guys nailed it with the soft in the middle thing, man. Your man's Frank Ragnow trying to come out of retirement, try to bring his fat ass off the couch. The doctors were like, nah, man, head back home.
Yeah.
He failed his physical, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I'm like, what the hell happened, man? He got physical on Thanksgiving and shit, man. Somebody must have been too fat or something. I don't know. But, when you see something like that, and I've seen all kinds of cats come out of retirement. And it's just not the same.
We're playing
when you see something like that, damn, like, almost like he was sitting up at the house watching going, man, these guys got trouble in the middle. With Detroit, it's the thing that's so noticeably different this year. Offense is still, despite the issues, along the interior of the offensive lineman, the offense is still hogging out. The difference is defense. With these guys this year, man. Teams are running on them. Teams are passing on them. I know they lost a lot of DBs or a couple of DBs anyway early in the year, and they kind of held it together. The defense was still, right around 10, something like that. But all that stuff is catching up to them now. It's like, and I don't want to say this, because as soon as I say it, what's going to happen. I'm going to jinx it, but it seems like a lot of teams are losing people, whereas the Cowboys are getting people back.
Yeah,
I heard a little birdie talking about the return of Trayvon Diggs, and don't get it twisted. All right, you could use that guy.
100%.
Use the guy. I'm not so sure he's done yet. Okay, you at least need to see. You at least need to find out if he can still help you, man. Corners, they're like pitchers. You can really never have too many of them. Especially in today's game. Especially a solid, man corner, a guy that can make some ball plays. Like a Diggs. Hopefully he's right physically. I still think he has a little bit left. I want to see. His return's been teased a little bit, but now it seems like he's actually getting a little bit closer. And again, that should do nothing but help. With Detroit, it's like Campbell took over their offensive play calling duties, right? And again, the O is fine. Now they lost Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's not going to play Thursday against the Cowboys. So that hurts them a little bit. But I mean, geez, man, Zen's guy, Gibbs, that dude, I'm of the opinion, all right, all due to my man, John Taylor. I think Gibbs is the best back in the NFL right now. That's just my opinion, man. That dude is a problem. So, I would have said before the year, I looked at the entire schedule as everybody is wont to do, and you just start doing wins and losses and this was one coming up that I said is unwinnable. They cannot win this game. And now I think you'd have to say they've got a fine chance to win this game on Thursday. And, man, it's one that they need.
All right, I like it. I think 2 points from y'all's things were really apropos of what's going on right now, and I'll kind of lead in with the last thing that was said is that everybody's getting banged up right now. We spent half a year doing that, and now we're literally in the position now where we got a day one roster situation of like a whole body of off-season work, and you're getting the right free agents. You're getting the right returners, and guys got a year of experience. And that by that I mean, with Overshown coming back in and just flying all around the field. That's the guy we've been talking about since last year. That when he went down, he's like, okay, just go through the process, and then once he gets back, we ready for his production, and that's what we're getting.
Yep.
Now Sands, our obviously Diggs, and we'll talk about that next segment. We haven't seen him even get a chance to really get another taste of this with the new look Cowboys, as it were, right? So then when you look like the ramifications of our trades are just starting to metastasize now. Like Kenny Clark has become a main fixture. He's been around since day one, but now he has a running mate who's better than him and younger than him, so he ain't got to do as much work. And we've seen, I think, a stat in the last 3 games, we've given up like just 112 rushing yards in 3 games. It's like 40 some odd a game, and we were literally the worst run defense team in the NFL, right?
Significantly.
So and then you move it's just like the whole team is where it needs to be. I know we had Bland out for a little bit, but he's been out there. So we can't make that excuse. But we're how they say, peaking at the right time. And that's something that you can't say about the Cowboys in recent history. It's like we were always about these early wins. Can we play the Giants early? We play the Redskins early. And we just banking them wins. So then we look at it, we were like 11-2, but it doesn't really feel like we were world beater because we ain't really played nobody per se. So now we took our lumps early. We lost games we wasn't supposed to lose. We, kind of played down the talent, as it were. But now we started to whoop teams' ass who expect to go do something. And to Darren's point, now all of a sudden, they're going through some things in the season, and they got a few injuries. Y'all don't afford us that same luxury. It's just, are you winning or you not? So internally, that's external. Internal, we look at it as Cowboy fans like, okay, but what do we really have here, though? We know it's going to be the bombast. We know Stephen A. is going to oversimplify everything, and everybody going to listen to his voice first. We know all that, but what are we really? So I think our sentiment has changed since episode 1, where it wasn't a whole lot of optimism with a new head coach, even though we liked him. We was like, okay, how is this going to materialize to an actual football team? What kind of shit Dak going to be on? I think Dak showed early and often that he's going to perform. So now we are where we are right now, and this actually feels like a really good team. And to JC's other point, if you told me earlier about this Lions game, I'd have been like, yep, that's the L. Like, we really about to beat them dudes. They're high-powered offense, very, very solid defense. Like, there's no way. Like, where's the advantage? That's what I always ask myself when I look at these games. Like, where is the advantage? Like, where can you take advantage of what they do, what we do, and can we impose our will? That's something, if you've been following this channel for any amount of time, I always ask that question. How can you impose your will? And for a team like that, I just didn't see it. But now we fast forward to right now.
Yep.
Hey, what a difference a day makes. So I like that. And the last point, too, I did want to address that we got to start winning games like this. And we talked about this, about banking the wins early in the season, which we were not successful in doing. But now it's to a point where we're winning games after we done put ourselves in a hole. Now we start to smack like the bullies on the block in the mouth after taking, getting our ass whooped in the neighborhood by some subpar talent. We just decided that's enough of this shit. We're going to go out there and start coming on with it. And I was saying this as well, that, listen, man, if we're going to go be this so-called Super Bowl caliber team, this so-called playoff team, man, you got to start winning against playoff teams, man. You can't just be pussying in, beating, the Titans and or emotional win against the Texans. Like, nah, you got to start beating teams who stay there, who live rent-free in the playoffs. And that's what the Cowboys are doing right now in real time. So I think Detroit, it may be just another speed bump in that high trajectory going up. That's what I think.
I can dig it.
So with that being said, we got another addition, and we kind of teased that in, JC and I. I do want to get on the Trevon Diggs thing because we went through a graveyard at cornerback, his secondary, and Elam was the whipping boy, for that transition. So we seen Deron Bland get put on his head like he was at the strip club, against the Cardinals. We saw that one. Speaking of disappointing losses. But now it looks like he's got his feet back under him. We've solidified our course. Shout out to Evil Flus because we was tearing his ass up on this show.
Deservedly.
As the rest of the football world.
Yep.
But now it seems like they've straightened the ship, obviously with one Quentin Williams. So now Trevon Diggs gets back to the party because as we know, he was getting burnt toast. Now you can say it's effort, you can say it's scheme. He gonna blame scheme. Some of us kind of seeing like, what are you doing out there? So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. So, D Brown, like some of your takeaways of what you expect to see out of Trevon Diggs returning to a very much new situation.
I think I like what Joey said a little while ago about that's the thing that immediately comes to mind with Trevon Diggs is that how healthy is he, right? I think if he's closer to his optimum health, I don't know that he was that to start the season. He had a very, very trying and difficult surgical procedure that it takes a really significant while to get back to where he was physically. Prior to his injury history of late, Trevon Diggs was probably the best closing cornerback in the air with the ball in the air in football. You go back to that 11 pick season. I mean, he was literally playing quarterbacks as like, running the route for the receivers, closing on the
Correct.
football midair and going to get it, right?
Correct.
We haven't seen that burst, because he's having, he's not been on the field. And then he had the really serious surgical procedure off season. So if he's back to optimum health and they're playing a little bit more aggressively, I thought about him actually during the Chiefs game when they got that coverage sack. It was like, wait a minute. Here it is. We're talking about a Cowboys secondary as woeful as they were most of this year, contributing a coverage sack, to an effort against, the A-list of A-list in terms of quarterbacks, right? With no Trevon Diggs out there. So I'm eager to see how healthy he is. And if he's say 90%, that would be great because, I think that like Joey said, and I totally agreed, this is a guy, he's taken, he's taken a whipping in local media, he's taking a little bit on this show or what have you. He has to, obviously being in proximity to the locker room and what's going on, he's got to be chomping at the bit in the competitor that I know he is. He's got to be chomping at the bit, get out there and get in on some of this turnaround and what's happened and that this defensive unit is out there making plays. And the fact that you've got some dogs up front, help to complement that secondary because now they're generating pressure, albeit from the inside, primarily, but they're still generating pressure in a manner that wasn't happening at the beginning of the year. So, man, if he can come out and be, that coverage dog that we know he can be, make some plays. I'm not looking for him to, reel off a, streak of picks, although it would be nice to end the season, but just be that really, really tough, man corner and matchup problem for opposing receivers that he's been prior to the injuries. If he can give them that in addition to what's been happening since the Q Williams trade and the return of an Overshown and the addition of a Williams and these guys that have come back and helped turn this defensive effort around, I'm all for it, man. So I landed here. I hope, he comes in and gives a healthy semblance of what he can do to what's been a big part of this turnaround on the defensive side of the ball.
Let me say this one small thing, JC, before you rock. Great point. Because we don't need him to be that no more. Like at one point, we were all outside rush, and we needed some turnover opportunities with our backs. I mean, we had a world class cornerback class, duo back there for that matter. And so we basically was rushing the ball out your hands, daring you to go upfield, and we had one of our ball hawks back there that was going to not only catch it, but probably going to take it back for 6. That used to be our identity. We ain't that Cowboy team no more. We don't need turnovers that way. We going to put that front pressure on your ass from all facets. We got, way improved linebacker play, so we just need competency back there. We don't need you because I think that's also he was trying to go for the big play and whiffing and get his ass burnt.
Oh, yeah.
The Giants game comes into memory.
Mm-hmm.
So no, yeah. So we don't need that no more, bro. We don't need you being the big gambler back there no more. That was you in your youth. Now you're getting your old man body, as they say. Just play some competency, some competent cornerback play. JC, you got it.
Again, you can't underestimate, just how much Quentin Williams has meant to the team. Look at how everyone up front is playing better. Not just Osa, but Clowney's playing better. All right. Sam Williams is making appearances. All right. It's helping everybody, and so the same thing with Overshown and the linebackers and Wilson. You start adding guys and it helps the entire unit. Again, Diggs is if he's right, he's going to give you another boundary corner, and we all love Deron Bland in the slot. That's his bread and butter, man. That's where he kind of made his bones, and I think they also want to see what kind of slot corner Ravel can be. It's when you have a corner that's a good size corner, like a Bland, like Ravel. Ravel's got great size and length, and so does Diggs. Diggs has been primarily a boundary guy. He's your RCB. Pop the X, run with him high on the takeoffs, and handle that guy, on those deep routes and have that deep third responsibility, to allow safeties to, maybe mask the other side with if it's Carson or whomever it may be on the outside. It's the slot corner is just, again, man, like it's a position now. Like fullback used to be a position. Okay. Now, what I'm saying? You don't see it as much, but you see the emergence of slot corners. Oh man, someone would, like Trent McDuffie. There's a great slot corner. and the Chiefs had a couple of them. They traded the one kid to Tennessee. And again, that kind of, was part of the engine of their defense is this great slot corners, and Bland is at his best when he's in the slot. And again, you get Diggs back and it can have this kind of domino effect where he holds his down and then other cats start to play better. It's a welcome addition. I don't care what anybody says, all this media stuff. He was best friends with Micah. Oh, he doesn't want to play. Oh, he rehabbed on his own. So, he didn't get his $500,000, which he would have gotten for rehabbing at, up in Frisco at the Star, at the team facility. And, you just hear all this stuff, like, oh, yeah, now he's some kind of malcontent. Man, look, the guy's hurt. That sucks. If you've ever played this game of football, all right, in pads, all right, as a man, right, even high school or college, okay, when you're that guy that's hurt and you're in your civilian clothes on the sideline, it's one of the worst things. It's still better than a bad day you're in a football game, but man, there's no worse feeling than not being able to go, when you're there. You say what's up to your boys and all that shit, man, but trust me, and it's this way when they're hurt too. You are persona non grata. All right, that sucks. So I want to see him get back out there, man, because I still think he has a little bit left.
Okay, no, that's a good take. Yeah, I would argue in all sports when you can't go, it is the most worst thing ever when you put all that work in for the offseason and you got all the. I mean, because listen, man, for everybody who hasn't played sports past like high school, it's hard as hell. You
still got to go to the game to support. That's what sucks.
Right, that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part.
You still got to support, right? But you can't play.
Everybody texts you, man. Why you ain't playing? Why you ain't playing? it's like it's the worst feeling in the world. So yeah, to kind of still man that point, yeah, it's really hard on you mentally, man, when you can't get out there and do it. And I'm gonna go off script a little bit because Third has been extremely active in the chat. So shout out to Third World Columbia, man. He asked, do you think the Chiefs are having just a one-off, or is it just signs of the Chiefs' reign and run about to go running reign over going forward? I guess I'll kick it off. I think the Chiefs played well. I think they played against a well team, peaking at the right time. I mean,
Yeah.
You watch Mahomes out there. Mahomes was dealing, man, and that one when he broke off and found Worthy up for that 45-yard. I was just like, God damn,
that's classic Mahomes.
Yeah,
that's Mahomes being Mahomes in his bag.
Yeah,
like there's nothing you can game plan for that. That's Mahomes being Mahomes.
Yeah. I saw their red zone offense looking the same as like they always do. They put somebody in motion, then they overload right, and they look for Kelsey at the back of the end zone. That's what they always do. No, I didn't see a fall off per se. I mean, now their record does denote that. But no, I think this may be one that the Chiefs is kind of saying they need to do some retooling. But B, you're seeing them play against a legitimate football team. I think both of those are true.
Yeah, I kind of touched on that, at the end of my initial take when the show came on, about one of the things I was impressed with, and as a matter of fact, I referenced, the millions and millions of detractors that would likely reference that, is that the Cowboys didn't catch Patrick Mahomes off his game. Patrick Mahomes, if you go back, if you're just, and there's a lot of those too, a big stat guy, if anybody had told you that Patrick Mahomes would have dropped the stat line that he dropped, right, prior to that game, 4 tubs, no picks, percentage around 70 plus, and 3 bills, that you said Kansas City's winning that game going away.
Correct.
Right? But guess what? Now, Spags did confuse Dak on what, third play of the game, but to QB1's credit, he went over there and retooled and destroyed that pressure the rest of the game. And it's like I alluded to in the post game of that game. When you're playing a guy that good, you better raise your level or you're going to get embarrassed.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened. And so, Cliff, I love the point that you make that, I mean, man, the Chiefs played really well. I don't think this is a sign that their run and potential of winning championships is over. Even I'll use the Spurs, right? Throughout the Spurs run, they never went on they never repeated.
Correct.
And then, that type deal. But they
were
relevant
dominated, per se.
Right. But they were relevant. They were in that conversation for damn near 20 years.
Correct.
Right. 5 and 20 years. But they were always, there's a little twist, a little tweak. They drafted a competent rookie, Kawhi Leonard. They would go and get that nice free agent addition or what have you. And they
like Boris Diaw, get Boris Diaw, have him
retool. Perfect. There you go. I mean, I kind of liken the Chiefs in that deal. Is there legitimate window of competing for championships over? No. Patrick Mahomes is what, 29?
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that runs over. Is Andy Reid still the coach? I think so. Are we going to argue against that pedigree? Are we going to argue against that talent that's now been there, done that? Now, I think Kelsey is done, over the next 5 years. Obviously, I don't think Kelsey's going to be there. I don't know if Kelsey will be there past this year or next, but so there'll be an adjustment there, but they'll figure it out. But just to land it here, no, there wasn't a one-off. I love the proper use of improper English, Cliff. Dallas played weller. I mean, Dallas played a great game against a team that they had to. I mean, Kansas City brought it, and Dallas matched their energy and was able to overcome it and win the game. And that's just literally what that is.
From my view,
I agree with Third World, my man, Third World Columbia, one of our longtime patrons of the show. Shout out to Third Ward Columbia, my man's down there in Houston. Appreciate him tapping in. I agree with what he was talking about in the chat in regards to Tyreek Hill. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Tyreek Hill. They could use a guy out wide. Okay, they're waiting for these cats to step up. And Rice was really good on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it's they for them, with their cap situation, they're almost in like a Pittsburgh situation. They can't really. Not too many guys are going to get second contracts. Okay, and I also think that DB made a great point. I think you'll really start to see a difference when Kelsey leaves. That's when you really are. So I think that's probably of paramount importance for them is to get them a tight end, because everything that they do, that whole offense is predicated off of Kelsey drawing coverage. And man, the bitch will still be wild. That's over sometimes. I'll be like, how can they? It's play design, it's read. Yeah, man, they're fine, and they're going to be in the mix because of St. Patrick, as I call him. He's still got a lot left there, but they could use an infusion, another playmaker, to help them offensively. But yes, as I land the plane, I will say this: DB was spot on. If you would have, again, doing the whole like that Frisco game, if you're going to tell me that Tyler Smith is going to shut out Nick Bosa and then a whole, C-Mac and Debo to 110 total between them, I'd have been like, there's no way they lose that game, right? There's just no way. And if you'd have told me after watching KC run the football at will early on, in addition to this, he's going to complete 70% of his passes, 4 scores, no picks for 260. I said, man, they're going to get throttled. They're going to get routed. But again, there's that word, clutch. The D came through and made stops when they needed to. And we talked about it. You give up 28 points, you're thinking, well, that's not really a good day for your defense. If you watch the game, you know it was a great day for your defense. They came through like super glue when they were needed. That's the thing, man. These NFL games are going to be close. You're going to get teams going to score on you in the NFL, man, especially fucking KC. All right, they're going to score on you in the NFL. So it's about being timely, as it were, in terms of the stops. For the Cowboys, that's what has really turned the tide, man. You see how everything affects everything, and they're able to get stops, and the offense has been amazingly efficient and consistent. I just marvel at the fact that how Prescott usually doesn't throw any more than 35 passes. Javonte gets about 20 carries for about 80. I mean, and that's the blueprint. They're averaging about 480 a game. And it's usually about $1. It's usually about $1.25, $1.40 rushing somewhere in there, and close to 300 for Dakota Rain, which you would expect his numbers to go up a little bit, man. But that receiving core that they have, they've been unbelievably efficient this year. And, that's what they have to have. That's what everybody talks about, balance. We talk about it all the time. They need it.
Been saying it for 15 years.
You need it Thursday. And, things are starting to come together, boys. That's all I can say, man. I'm trying to be pessimistic, but things are starting to come together for this team, man. This team's different right now.
Well, hoop that is, man. Just to kind of, still, man, both of y'all's takes, and it was before we move on to the lucky. We're winning games against teams that matter. Defensively, when we usually blow these with like blown assignments, we blow these with unnecessary penalties. We blow these games, and they turn into like we almost had them games. This is what we do best, as far as depending on our defense to close out against a very powerful offense. And that's not what's happening, at least these past 2 weeks. And that's something to look forward to.
Cliff, can I interject something before you move to the next point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mahomes had some time and couldn't find guys. It's like, damn, man, that secondary was balling.
Yeah, I want to interject something to further galvanize your point, Cliff, which I think is a great one. You talk about the way Dallas would lose games. Here's the beautiful part of just about this season. We know historically, the last 3 or 4 seasons past, we can all three of us, everybody on the panel can point to those games. But just this season, right? Just take Thursday's game, okay? Thursday's game, you got a situation late. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You got a situation late where you need the defense to make a stop, right? And get Dallas the ball back to go downfield to give them an opportunity to win the game. But the one thing that has to happen is you're in that situation. It's late fourth quarter, and you need the defense to make to what Joey just alluded to, the timely stop. Carolina game. Remember that deal? That was just this season on how they lose those games. Carolina game. First of all, you're already kind of marveling how this game is as tight as it is. But the fact of the matter was, it was 6:48 left in that game. And Dallas's offense never sees the field again. Right? They get one stop, and you get it back to that offense that we know can move, but the defense has to make a play. And for the last 6 minutes plus, Dallas never touches the ball. They get every play.
Yep.
And here's the thing: not only are they getting every play, they're running the football, primarily doing it. Right. Then fast forward, 5 weeks later, same scenario, higher pedigree, clearly in terms of quarterback, in terms of playmaker, and the ability to run the football. Dallas gets that stop. Offense gets on the field. We know what the result was. That happened this season, just over a month ago. So to your point, it's been fun to watch the very tangible turnaround on just this edition of this team in that late game scenario on how Dallas would figure out how to lose those games in clutch situations. And now we're playing teams of a high caliber, and they're doing the things, having gotten down in 2 successive weeks to higher caliber teams. Obviously, they played in the Super Bowl last year, to find a way to win, to make the plays to win those games from the defensive side of the ball to complement what that offense can do. That's just been wonderful to watch.
Absolutely. Game within a game.
Yep.
Oh, all right. So as we move forward, go ahead. We can land it real quick. JC.
I was just gonna say, man, if Quentin Williams finishes with 9 or 10 sacks and the run defense continues like this, he's got to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He has to be. And how wild would that be, right? His numbers weren't that great in New York, and we all know the situation.
True.
But if he keeps playing like this, right, and quintuples his sack total or whatever, in 8 games, you got to look at it. And trust me, it's the Cowboys. People will be looking at it.
Hey, I like it. All right, so let's move the show forward, guys. We got the Lucky Whitehead Award. So let's go ahead and divvy that bad boy out.
Rodney. What is that screeching? Sounds like the fucking Lucifer shit.
It sounds like a Dodge Ram that needs brakes for the intersection. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, man.
All right, so let's get through our luckies real quick so we can get on to our other parts of the show because I got to peace out a little bit earlier than normal. So D Brown, what you got, man? Who's your lucky?
Elijah Clark. No question.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Elijah Clark.
Nice.
That play encapsulates everything about the lucky. I mean, that I don't know how many times, and it's what's wild is here's a guy who will probably never, and not diminishing or demeaning the young man's talent. He's playing professional football, but this is a young man who probably never get that kind of attention on, highlight reel attention from multiple outlets over a course of a week for the teams that he made on special play, getting knocked on his ass, 3 times, getting up, hustling, and then comes down and just absolutely just makes a monstrous hit.
He popped his ass.
Yeah, on a special teams play. If that doesn't encapsulate the unsung greatness and spirit of the Rodney Lucky Whitehead Award is, I don't know what else to tell you. But yeah, I was thinking, I was like, well, there's my lucky right there. When he made that play, I said, well, shit, that's my lucky guy right there. So Elijah Clark, game-turning, tide-changing hit, from the single most unsung guys on the team.
Yeah, that's fair. Great one. JC, what you got?
I got to go with a guy who, literally has a chance to win the award every week, Kavontae Turpin. He made some stick moving plays. All right. He came through, man, for them with some critical first downs, and then of course the most critical of all, diving on the Pickens fumble.
The fumble recovery. Yep.
Oh
Massive.
my God! You know, when a player is Johnny on the spot like that, all right. If you ever again played the game in pads as a man, when a guy does something like that, a lot of times it's an offensive lineman, right? But those guys are loved by the coaching staff. Oh man, see, and then also with the Elijah Clark thing, keep playing, continue to hustle, keep playing, run to the whistle, that kind of a thing. You know, so I got to go with Turpin, man. He like Clark, he answered the call. You know, Turpin answered the call. He had been down a little bit, but he came through with some critical, like a special teams guy who's a gadget guy. He came through with some critical plays on offense, and getting that fumble, man, was the most critical of all.
There we go.
JC, what I love about your pick on that play is you go back to the visual of that play. The ball comes out, you know, if you're a Cowboy fan, you're collectively going, oh shit, because you know they're down, about to score. You know, it's a turnover. And if you're going to pick a guy, I love the point you made about, you know, like an offensive lineman. Typically, those are hustling bigs that make those plays. The only Cowboy within the area code of that football was the smallest son of a bitch on the team. It was 4 Chiefs around that ball. And here comes, what is Lucky? I mean, Lucky. What is Kavate Turpin actually weigh? $50, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, and you see this little bitty 7th grade body dude come running amongst all these big ass Kansas City Chief guys that are right where the ball is, and then he dives on it. And you know, we've all seen it where you get to, you know, the Three Stooges and the Benny Hill music going. They try to dive on, the ball's popping out, and he breaks down perfectly, dives on the ball. All those Chiefs around it, and he's the son of a bitch that comes up with the ball. That's a great pick.
There you go. So since you know, I'm just gonna go counter. And I'm gonna give it to Jadeveon Clowney, man, a guy who was an add-in piece to go and lead in tackles, lead in sacks against the best offensive. Well, you know, depending on who you ask, one of the best offensive teams, you know, out there, especially the best pedigree. So Jadeveon getting out there, getting dirty when you know most teams.
He led the team in tackles too.
Huh?
He led the team in tackles.
Yeah, he had 5 or 6 tackles.
Wow. No, he had 2 sacks. Damn.
6 tackles, 5 solos, and 2 tackles. 2 tackles and
nice.
two tackles for loss as well. So I gotta give it to Clowney, man.
Hey.
Again,
Hey,
all good picks.
The Cowboys scout the XFL, UFL, or whatever the hell it is better than anybody. They got Turpin and Aubrey out of that. How about Turpin and Aubrey? All right. How about that? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, believe it or not, that actually kind of justifies that league being in existence. All it takes is getting a few guys promoted to the big show. It's like, okay, hey, maybe this football thing can work. You know what I'm saying? So props to them, man, and their pro personnel for finding Aubrey and Turpin, obviously.
Shout out Will McClay.
If I were them, I would use those 2 guys to help promote the league too. Like when you put out like national TV spots, absolutely.
We should. Agree.
All right, let's move forward, man. So we're gonna talk about the Detroit Lions looking shaky AF. We kind of alluded to this earlier in our earlier little salvos speaking, but as it stands though, Detroit is looking shaky, man. This is the team, and I'll kind of go through real quick some of their recent history of what they were able to do. You know, I like to put the by the numbers up there thing. So at their record, sitting at 7-5 right now, which is not horrible, better record than ours. When you look at let's go to the last 5 games. They lost to the Packers at home, 31-34. Lost to the Giants. Well, I'm sorry, they beat the Giants by a touchdown at home. Not impressive. They lost to the Eagles on the road, 16-9. I mean, no shame in that. They beat the Commodores, 44-22, and they lost at home to the Vikings. So what recent history is showing is they don't protect home well, and as they get into the meat of their schedule, they're obviously floundering. So with that being said, I mean, we talked about some of the opportunities we have with them with their offensive line, even trying to get Ragnar to come out of retirement. He has that stage 3 He had a stage 3 hernia injury or some to that effect. MCL,
Hamstring.
hamstring. There we go.
Yeah, hamstring. Yeah.
Grade 3
He had the
hamstring.
OGD Brown injury.
Yeah, he out of there.
Don't try this, bro. You're
Yeah.
done.
So when you start kind of pulling guys out of retirement this late in the season, it's an act of desperation. A la us getting Peters a few years ago, trying to get his old lad rolled out there because we just needed some patchwork help. So
Big Pete. Yep.
So we know that Eberflus is waiting to chomp at the bits with his new toys that he has, and definitely to restore his his reputation. With 65% of his years been pretty freaking bad, right? So again, showing that they definitely are going the opposite way. They still do have Jared Goff at QB1, who is proven time and time again that he has the stuff to be one of the top guys in this league. We did mention too that now St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown will not be playing, so that's a big thing too. So adding to the shaky. So I mean, with all those things being said, I mean, let's start putting some rubber to the road. What does that look like with them being shaky and us kind of peaking defensively, especially on the front? Like, what do you think is going? Like, what do you foresee happening when those two worlds collide?
I think you got to take advantage of it.
Go ahead, you got to take advantage of it. You absolutely have to. And again, their offense has been fine. The numbers are great. Two running backs. Those guys are probably both in the top 10. And Gibbs and Montgomery. And again, like I said, man, Gibbs, man, that guy's a fucking problem. He worries the hell out of me, and he can catch too. Don't forget they lost Sam Laporta. That's a hell of a blow, man. That's one of the better. That's a top 5 tight end easily, right there. Again, with them, the thing that kind of stood out to me that I'm really interested in seeing is can the Cowboys run on them? Teams have been running on these guys, and on the flip side of that, what I'm also interested to see, don't see my man Campbell, all right, best coach in the NFL, by the way, as far as I don't see him coming off the run game, like KC did. I think they're going to stay with it. I think that's going to be a real key, man, is just trying to corral Gibbs. All right. Trying to corral Gibbs. Trying to corral this guy, and dealing with Montgomery when he comes in. Because when that's clicking, I mean, damn, man, yeah, they're missing Amon-Ra, they're missing Laporta, But when you're running the football, man, guys like Jameson Williams and this Tesla guy, right? This guy like 6'4", right? This rookie they got, Tesla, I think his name is Tesla, something like that, right? But you can still manufacture points in the passing game if you're running the football well. I think that's going to be the key on both sides. I think whoever wins the rushing battle is going to win that football game.
Good take.
D-Ron, what you got?
Man, I'm going to echo Joey Sanders quite a bit. I think the big key is in terms of the matchup. I agree with your lead in. But there's a lot that, Detroit has not been quite the juggernaut looking team, last year. I actually had Detroit going to probably winning the Super Bowl last year. Of course, they came up short. But, every year is different. And this one has just been off. And then, the injury thing, as always, the great equalizer. When you lose Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's a big deal. I kind of look at that when Dallas faced Washington earlier this year. They didn't have, their guys in terms of receiver. You got to take advantage of that, man. I mean, you can only go against the guys that are available in uniform, and if they're not up to the caliber and the level of the guys you expect to contend with, then hey, you got to take advantage, because guess what? If those tables were turned, they're damn sure going to. It's just what it is in this league. So, but I totally agree with Joey's take with regard to Dan Campbell and his doggedness with sticking with that run game. When you have a Jahmyr Gibbs, like if you're going to have guys out, but the one guy that you can lean on to make plays for your team is that dude, yeah, well, they're going to have to stop it because it's coming. And if they can get, something going, and I know quite sure Dan Campbell has heard and seen, obviously watching film, that this is a different looking team than, as recently as 4 weeks ago defensively, especially in that front. It's a bigger challenge, no question. But Dan Campbell's going to make them earn it. Dan Campbell's going to make them prove that they can stop it for 60 minutes because it's coming. Because if he can get some semblance of that going to extend Joey's point in being dogged with the run game, then you're going to set up some level of play action of which Jared Goff is lethal when he has the opportunity to go play action. He was, people tend to forget he was the number one pick in the draft that Dak Prescott was in for a reason. I mean, the dude, given time and given the ability to work off play action, which obviously starts with a respectable run game, he can spin it. He can spin it with the best of them. So that's going to be the challenge. I do agree that, and that also works even to help their defense out, which has been giving up more than they have been in the last couple of years. If they being Detroit, get some semblance of run game going, then guess what? That helps their defense play defense against Dallas's offense. If they can keep them off the field, they can, convert third downs, move the chains, even on those drives that they don't score. If they get 2 or 3 extra first downs, that's just more time that Dak and CD and Pickens and Jake and the rest of those guys aren't on the field, to challenge them defensively. So that, I think, that is the game within the game. And conversely, if Dallas is able to establish their run game, which to JC's earlier point has been solid, has been steady, has been consistent, with Javonte Williams and my man who runs like the rent due in eviction court is tomorrow, Malik Davis. If they're able to establish their deal, then I think it's going to be a really long day for Detroit. So I think Detroit's best shot to help their ailing defense and win the game and keep this, I would dare say, a closer game, is the fact if they can establish and maintain the run throughout. So that's going to be the game within the game. It's going to be a fun matchup to watch. But the way Dallas is moving, in all facets, I like Dallas to overcome even Big Dan's earnest attempts to try to get this one with his run game.
And Malik Davis, this is the guy that McFatass didn't trust 3 years ago. Didn't trust him when Pollard got hurt.
People forget he's been here 5 years.
I tell you what, he looks different. The speed, holy crap. Man, that 40-yard where they turned your man Jones and Malik Davis was, and I'm out. Peace, and I'm out to the 30, and he's gone. I was very impressed with the way I've been very impressed with the way Malik Davis has been running the football. He merits more carries. That's why it's like Jaden who? That's why you have, if they don't trust Jaden Blue, first of all, in pass protection. I guarantee you that's the thing. All right. And they think he may lay it on the ground, which is even worse. All right. But it's time. Get Malik Davis some more carries, man. And I like the way they did it as I land the plane. I like the way they did it when it kind of seemed like Javonte wasn't really clicking. He wasn't really getting his. So it's like, all right, well, we're going to continue to run it. Let's put Malik Davis in and try this guy, man. And he's been playing very, very well. You don't want to get him overexposed, but I'll tell you what, in the limited carries that he's getting, he is making the most of them.
Well, hoop day it is, man. Now, guys, I won't be able to get through this take because I do have to run to work. So, in sales, this is Black Friday weekend. So we got extended hours all weekend long. So
make that money, man.
Yeah, man. So I do have to sub out, and Zen's gonna pop in. But great takes, and yes, I'm expecting a nice finish to the show. Thank y'all for the listeners. Y'all hit the like button before y'all go any further with the show. And I appreciate
the boss is gonna be like, Franks, where in the hell are you? These mattresses, they gotta sell themselves.
Goddamn YouTube. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic to get those in.
Chief, have a good day at work.
Megastar.
What up?
Megastar.
Master. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Franks is on his way to work. Let me pop this chain in. I hate to look like an old corny dude with his chain hanging out over his hoodie. That's some tacky shit, boy. Anyway, as you can see, I'm keeping true to the color theme today. but
Nice.
I'm
There
representing
he is.
my
He's
hometown, my
still
home
loyal to
area.
West PA. He's
That's
still
what it
loyal to
is.
West PA.
That's all it is. So, fellas, with that being said, we have one more topic really today to cover, and that
Okay.
is two offenses ready to ignite. Both squads can put up fireworks. The question is, can Dallas keep up that rhythm, coming on the road and force Detroit into a track meet that they can't finish?
Love the question. Yes.
It's it's totally a case of whose defense is going to make some plays too. That's the thing, right? That's where Detroit just kind of had some issues. We all know about the Cowboys' issues. You would probably say, you're going to give the edge to the Cowboys on offense because there's no Amon Ra, because Sam Laporta is
Right.
not playing. But Detroit has been very competent and still are and still have other guys, offensively. On the offensive side of the football, you got to feel like they're probably going to get theirs on offense. The Cowboys are going to get theirs on offense. And it's just going to be who can make the timely defensive plays. That's the thing, and I love what y'all talking about with the soft in the middle thing, man. Like they've been moving Quentin Williams around, which I think is just fantastic, man. Props to Eberflus and Oppengropen Schottenheimer, for understanding that this guy has the lateral movement and ability to play, some five techniques, some defensive end. Now I think that script will be kind of flipped a little bit, right? That they'll say, all right, yeah, soft in the middle, huh? Okay, well, get a load of this. Take this with you. All right. And so it's going to be whose defense comes through and makes plays. And numbers aside, we all know that this is a different defense now. All right. Who right now, who do you trust defensively to make a play? Do you trust Detroit more or do you trust the Cowboys? I think you trust the Cowboys more at this point. Again, this is based on demonstrated ability. That's where you get that confidence from. I think right now, Dallas is trending up and Detroit's trending down. It's the sky's not falling up there. They still got guys. They're still in the mix. They're still in the race. They need this one just as much as the Cowboys do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they
Absolutely.
still got guys. I mean, Hutchinson is still a monster. Props to that kid for coming back. He's a beast. That guy is man, that kid wrecks shop. Great football player, great story. Michigan guy. That's what it's going to come down to. Again, another one of those NFL games that we've all seen should be very, very close. Okay. And it's going to be, who comes through with the timely play. Again, I think both offenses will get theirs, but who's going to make the stop? Right now, I trust Dallas more than I trust Detroit to do that, just based on the way, things have been, shaking out lately.
D. Brown, your take.
Man, I like a lot of what Joe just laid out there. I think that, again, this is as intense and as high stakes as the last two Cowboy games have been. We've seen the way they've come through. I think they continue to bring that energy because as great as the last two wins were, this one, in terms of importance, is even more because now these are two teams that are virtually deadlocked on the outside looking in, trying to get into the wild card picture. And and there's an added thing now, with Dallas because, their division mate in Philly slipped yet again Friday. And now all of a sudden, Dallas is in the division conversation. So, there's a lot that is in front of Dallas all of a sudden. Again, what a difference 3 weeks makes going into this game. There's a lot that rides on this. In terms of tiebreakers, in terms of NFC opponent, in terms of getting another one in the win column, and now putting even more pressure on Philly to close out ahead of them, because now all of a sudden Dallas is only a game and a half back. So, in terms of just the offenses and the topic at hand, I think Joey nailed it. When you lose La Perla and you lose St. Brown, you've got to go advantage Dallas there in terms of the offenses. Big Dan's going to, he's a terrific coach. He's going to have them prepared. They're going to bring their effort. They're going to bring their energy. You do have Jahmyr Gibbs, as we stated earlier. And if you're going to lean on one guy, to get you through when you're missing some pieces like they are. Jahmyr Gibbs is one damn fine one to do it with. And let's not forget their quarterback, Jared Goff, the Jared Goff experience as it relates to Dan Campbell has been one that's an absolute fit. He's brought out the best in that guy. And if they can somehow find it, as I referenced earlier, in terms of the run game, Detroit, um, you know, Jared Goff off play action, regardless of who his receivers are, is dangerous because he can, like I say, he can flat make throws. A lot of guys can't make. He can flat spin it, and so, but
Big
to
ol'
Joey's
arm.
point, and I'll land it here. Um, I think what you're going to see is some high level quarterback play like we saw, in the Philly game, like we saw in the Kansas City game. Again, this guy was the number one pick in the draft that produced Dak Prescott. He's the number one overall. So this guy is
2016.
got big pedigree, man. So and he's shown
They're
there
the
in
last
Detroit.
guys left out of that class.
Yeah, he's shown in Detroit that he's not just competent. He's a dude. He's a stud. So I think you're going to see, because of the importance of the game to both teams, you're going to see some more high level quarterback in play, and it's going to come down to which defensive unit at some point can make the timely stop, perhaps even make the timely turnover. I think that's now, just because of the way things are coming together and have come together for Dallas. They're adding Trayvon Diggs to what's been a disruptive unit. So I think it kind of tilts toward Dallas in the offensive category. I think it tilts towards Dallas in their defense, helping their offense make more plays, because I think they're going to perhaps give them one or two more opportunities to do their thing, which is going to be a critical piece on how these offenses complement their defensive units. And so I think there's a slight edge in terms of that needle pointing to Dallas on those two fronts. I think Dallas's offense is going to get more opportunities, and I think Dallas's offense via available personnel going into this game is not a bit more. I would say significant. If you lose Amon-Ra St. Brown and you're rolling out George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and Jake Ferguson, that's advantage Dallas. And I'll land it there.
Receiver corps wise, absolutely. Running back
Ferguson
wise,
needs to have
they
a
still
big
got to
game.
give it to Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yeah,
Joey.
100%.
Yeah, it's Ferguson needs to have a big game, man. Like, it's just like Zen was saying, watch the Green Bay film, right? And that we were talking in the chat at the very beginning of the year, right, about Green Bay. I was like, man, when you play Green Bay, cover the fucking tight end. Holy crap, right?
Yeah.
Like, they had that metric in the playoffs a couple years ago. Like, this tight end for Green Bay against Dallas, there's never been anybody more wide ass open by the numbers, right? Like, Jesus, dude. And that's where I saw some happenings, some potential chances for the Cowboys, man, is at that tight end spot. Green Bay lost their number one tight end too. That was what Detroit was giving them. That was where they were soft, right? Up that seam, and on the smash concepts, corner routes and stuff like that, all the stuff done by the tight end, right? So Ferguson needs to have a big game today. Thursday.
Next Thursday, yeah.
And I think that's where you're going to have a chance to make some hay. And then, of course, the ebb and flow of the game, you start pulling people towards the middle, and you've got Sedarian and Georges Pickens on the outside to deal with. That's what I'm seeing. Their run defense has been surprisingly soft. All right. And so, again, balance, efficiency. But, hey, offensively, man, the Cowboys have been that all year. It's remarkable. They had some big games where they put up huge numbers and stuff like that. And the 40-point outburst, Green Bay, the Giants, 37 against the Jets, on and on and on and on. That kind of skews the numbers. But, boy, I tell you what, man, you look at that box score, man, at the end of these games that they win, it's about like I said, 275 passing, $140, $150 running, very few turnovers, if any at all. That's the key for them is, obviously minimizing mistakes. Detroit's going to come to play. They're at home, national TV. They're sick of getting beat. I guarantee you, Dan Campbell's been biting kneecaps and chewing some bitches out all week at the facility up there in Detroit. They're going to come ready to play. But the Cowboys are in such a good way right now that, again, my man D. Brown was talking about how, hey, look, the chances of making the playoffs are remote for this thing. They're remote because of, as D. Brown always says, playing with your food earlier in the year against the Cardinals and the freaking Panthers, right? Chicago was proven to be a very good team, but still, this is one that they thought they were going to kind of bank, right? So here you are, man. You really do need to win out. And I'll say this as I landed. I'm looking at that Philadelphia outfit. Boy, I tell you what, man, that was a real egg they laid on Friday. And we've seen this happen with Philadelphia before. Okay?
2023.
Where all of a sudden, it's a different outfit. And they have trouble scoring. They've had trouble running the football, okay, with pretty much all of their personnel intact. They've had trouble running the ball. They've had trouble scoring. Hey, I think in order to win the division, you're going to have to win out. Maybe Philly goes 3-2. All right, you went out 11-6, 11-5-1, and that fucking tie gets you into the playoffs or wins the division for you. How about that, huh? If you're scoreboard watching, right? We always say, hey, you need to hope for every AFC team to beat every NFC team. There's certain matchups where, you wanted Chicago to beat the Eagles because you're trying to catch them in the division. And like I said, man, in terms of scoreboard watching, to make it easier, man, just watch the Eagles and the Cowboys stay on this run, and that'll get you where you need to be, man. You don't need tiebreakers at that point, man, if you just win the division outright. And as it stands right now, okay, if the Cowboys do win out, all right, they will have a better division record than the Eagles. They'll be 5-1 in the division. The Eagles have already lost 2 games in the division. That's the first tiebreaker in the division. Now, I don't think these teams will be tied. I think the tie eliminates any possibility of that happening unless the Eagles fuck around and get a tie, right? But, man, if you could win the division, be the 3 seed, get you that home game in the first round, you're going to be playing somebody good, man. It's going to be Seattle or maybe Detroit or San Francisco. It's going to be somebody good. You're going to be playing somebody good. That's the playoffs. That's how it goes. But I can't even believe we're sitting here right now at this particular point in time and talking about them having a chance to have a home playoff game.
Or win the division.
I hear that. But you know what? We keep mentioning the parallels between the Steelers and the Eagles. The Steelers and the Cowboys this season in particular. And the records are almost identical. You guys are a half a game behind us at this point. The limping early season, we're still
the Steelers need to win the division too.
Right. And look what's happening. The Ravens are floundering like crazy. The Bengals
Isn't that crazy?
Like hot, cold. And the Browns are the Browns.
I'm surprised at how bad the Ravens defense is.
We might mess around and go 9-8 and win the AFC North. And you might mess around and go 9-8 and win your division. Because the Commanders are shit. Yeah. The Giants are shit.
Yeah, fucking just get in.
The Eagles are floundering.
That draft pick shit. Get in the playoffs, man.
What is with the birds? What's with the birds on Interstate 95? the Ravens and the
Harrisburg Turnpike, as it were, sir.
The Ravens and the Eagles are both on the I-95. What's going on? Is there has the bird flu taken over on the East Coast? Because they're suffering out there. All right?
That's funny.
It's bird flu season. But fellas, we're a little out of order, but let's move on to a topic we're going to hit. We jumped over earlier, but the topic is, the boys are on a 3-game heater. Over 500 now, technically. This Detroit trip, the fans are calling it a statement moment. Win it, and the whole vibe flips. You guys understand the schedule gets way easier after Thursday.
Yep.
Your take, again.
So Tony Romo made several references to Dallas's schedule. The heater that's the subject of this segment, and Dallas's schedule. Tony Romo made very made several pointed references to that in terms of the way, Dallas is has gotten hot, how they won games, who they've beaten, and looking at the schedule. And it was very interesting to hear Tony Romo echo that, really utter that same sentiment that you just referred to, Zen, and that you get this game in Detroit, and Romo's take there was, for all the reasons that we've mentioned, he thought Dallas could get that game, that he literally put it out there, and I'm not mad at him for the energy, and I appreciate it from number 9, that he thought Dallas would run the table if Dallas gets the game in Detroit. As a matter of fact, he was very specific in saying that you look at the remainder of Dallas' schedule post the Detroit game, they're going to be favored in every single one of those games. And very, very winnable. Should be, you should loosely, but that it does tilt favorably for Dallas if they get past this one. Starting with this Philly game, every game has been, make or break. They get the one in Philly, they get the one against the Chiefs. This one against Detroit's even bigger. It looked like, to JC and Cliff's earlier point, the most difficult, likely scenario that this is a game they would not get. Certainly when you're looking at that thing on the schedule 4 weeks ago, I dare say, I think all of us would say there's no way in hell they're going to go to Detroit and beat them. Now, the way things have flipped, the way this offense is cooking, and you've got all the close game elements, and this is where I landed. You've got all the Dallas is now gotten hot, not just with flashy offensive play or even like big sack totals or what have you. Dallas has gotten hot learning how to win games in tight moments, right? And that's where you want to get at. And they have those elements that you need to win close games. They can convert that 3rd and 3, right? That need where you have your offense stay on the field to maybe bleed time off the clock. They have, or they have the ability to convert that 3rd and 3 to get in a position so that your all-world kicker can go out and hit the long ball if need be to win a game. You've got the matchup where you can, walk up to the line of scrimmage, Dak Prescott, take a survey of what the defense is giving you, what that look is. It's like, wait a minute, I've got 3 over here, in single. That safety is tilted over to CD, and I've got 3 over here single up. He's going to win that slant all day long. That's where the ball's going, so they've got those things lined up for them. They've gotten hot in the ability to execute in the winning time moments. That's what Dallas has lacked, right? And most pointedly, the ability to turn around and hand the ball off, because they couldn't do it when it mattered, right? And so that's why I think, when you talk about Dallas has gotten hot, I think specifically Dallas has gotten hot in that element of winning and executing when it matters. That's what's been fun to watch. And I think they're taking that energy to Detroit. And I think that's what's going to win the day for them in that element, is that I think they're just better equipped. That's a very confident team. The vibe in that locker room, the vibe on that sideline is one, they faced real adversity to prepare them to go on the road against Detroit and get that game. They were down 21 against the Eagles and walked them down. They threw an early pick against Kansas City. In Cowboys iterations past, that's an oh shit moment that they don't recover from. This team didn't blink. As a matter of fact, they went to bear down, they knuckled up, and went and got the game. And so I think they prepared themselves situationally, emotionally, and mentally to go up there. It was going to be a damn difficult game to win against a Detroit team that's be just as determined and needs that game just as much. But I think Dallas is just prepared for it, and I think they're going to position themselves, man, to go on what's going to look like it'd be a fun and pretty dramatic run to close this thing out.
Joey,
They've been
you got
fantastic on 3rd down.
Joey.
Cowboys have been great.
Joey, you got.
Because when we talk about these clutch moments, right? That's when we talk about these clutch moments. 3rd down, offensively and defensively. Can you get off the field? That's why they call 3rd down the money down.
Joey, after the Lions, you have the Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, and Giants a big old December cake, if you will. Talk to me about what you expect your record to look like at the end of the next 5 games. Even if you don't happen to beat Detroit, I think the other 4 are winnable when you go to 10-6-1 at worst. What's your take?
I think 4-1 is a reasonable expectation. I think 4-1 is a reasonable expectation given the schedule. And again, people talk about strength of schedule, and it's a natural inclination to look at it and say, well, they're going to beat the Giants. They're going to beat the Commanders. You look at that, right? And you talk about difficulty of schedule. Okay, well, Alabama has a difficult schedule, but let's not forget, Alabama feels pretty fucking good about any game they go into because they're Alabama, because they got the squad. When you're playing like Dallas is right now, okay, and if they're able to continue this, you don't give a shit about the schedule because they got to deal with us. You know what I'm saying? When you don't care because you just feel like going into any game. Again, like I said, the Alabama reference, the Georgia reference, Penn State, like in '94, with that crew. You just knew it. It really didn't matter what their schedule was. PSU's first year in the Big Ten, undefeated.
Oregon,
you know what I'm saying? Rolling, because they had the guys. And they were playing really, really well. Like I said, it's a natural inclination to try to pick the gimmies in the schedule. It's the NFL, man. There's no such fucking thing as a gimmie. All right?
True. I mean,
New York
Chargers,
Giants.
I dismissed the
Jameis
Chargers. I
Winston
probably shouldn't have.
Was in Detroit's mix. They're all losable. But now, because Cowboys are playing so well, they're all winnable too, brother. They are all winnable. Even this one.
Yeah, I agree. D. Brown, ESPN we're going to move on to the prediction segment of the show. Sure. ESPN is predicting the Detroit Lions win this game by a good margin. They're 63.1% chance of winning, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, versus Dallas is 36.7%. I mean, to me, that feels like bullshit, especially after watching what Detroit did the other night. What's your take about this particular prediction from ESPN, and what's your prediction?
If me and ESPN were standing in a room with $100 bill, I'll take Dallas. I'll absolutely take Dallas. I'll take that bet. If for no other reason, just how they played. This isn't about fandom. This isn't about any of that. Dallas is played. I'm going back to the point I made just a moment ago, and Joey galvanized even more. The way they're playing, why wouldn't Dallas feel like they could get any game that they're playing, right? Their quarterback is by the most ardent non-Cowboy fan in Stephen A. Smith. I mean, he has Dak Prescott as at the top of the MVP conversation all of a sudden, and he's playing like it. Their offensive line, that young and growing by the week offensive line, is now starting to dominate. And guess what? That interior of that offensive line just went against some dogs, and not only just held up. The boys gave a great account of themselves, and I'm referencing Tyler Smith and Tyler Booker and Cooper Beebe. That interior of that offensive line of Dallas showed up. When you're facing a Jalen Carter, when you're facing Chris Jones. And again, you don't just hold your own, but you actually make more positive plays than not. And you've got literally some NFL tykes when it comes to their experience. That's nothing but positive. But when you've got the dynamic element on the outside, you've got a tight end that's probably squarely in the conversation of playing at a Pro Bowl level in Jake Ferguson. Your run game has been what it's been, and now this defense is playing like they're playing. I'll take that bet. I'll absolutely take that bet. Because again, I think the adversity that they faced and overcame against both Philly and the Chiefs, right? It prepared them to go into this game. As a matter of fact, I feel even better about it because they went through some shit versus just blowing those teams out or just walking through them. The fact that they had to overcome real adversity to beat those two teams prepares them emotionally and mentally to go get what's going to be a tough-ass game in Detroit. I fully believe that. And you had to execute at a high level. and you had to have, some moxie and some fortitude to get those games against those two teams, both of whom played well, especially Kansas City. So, yeah, I'll take that bet. I'll take that against ESPN all day long.
There you
Yeah.
have it,
That fucking
Joey.
computer ain't never caught a pass, ain't never had a sack, ain't never made a play ever. So fuck that computer. All right. The game is won on the field. All right. And I'm telling you, that predictor shit, it's fine. People like numbers and shit. You know what I'm saying? Nerds want to feel like they know the game and shit. All right. With all these predictors and stuff and whatnot and bric-a-brac and so forth. Look, man, the game's won on the field. Does take into account emotion, and it's certainly at a 63%, chance for Detroit to win. Certainly the computer does not take into account how well the Dallas Cowboys have been playing. And I will say this, man, as I landed, timing. Is that what you say, Zen? Timing.
Shador.
This stretch, for them to be playing as well as they are now, could not have come at a better time.
Indeed.
Dame time. Shador.
Indeed.
Well, folks, unfortunately, there will be no Cowboys trivia today. Actually, you know what? We're going to do Cowboys trivia. There will be no Cowboys trivia pool today. There will be no money available today. But we're going to do the trivia anyway. We'll start the music right now. And after I flash the question on the screen, we're going to give everyone 30 seconds to respond in the chat. And you know what? I'll take it back. We'll go ahead. If you send your Cash App to Hoop Jargon on Instagram, we'll send you $5 if you respond to the question accurately. So we'll start the music. Again, that's Hoop Jargon on Instagram if you want to go ahead and claim your $5 prize. And with that being said, fellas, this week's trivia question, 30 seconds once we put it up. After we stop reading it and put it up, pardon me. Which Dallas Cowboys wide receiver holds the franchise record for most career receiving yards? 30 seconds, starting now. Joe, you want to bust a rap while we wait?
Nah, man, what I want is to lean in all the way to Portland and get a contact off of that, what you blowing on right now, homie.
I'm telling you.
That's what I want.
I mean, our mid is really, really good here. You ain't got to go top shelf to get your thing on. All right, folks, that is the end of the time. And I don't see no responses in the chat, so, hey, we'll keep our money this week. You know what I think maybe what we'll do is start growing that pool week by week so that it gets up to, something significant to really attract, some answers. Maybe if it's $100 in there after a few weeks, somebody will want that.
A growing pool? Right on.
Yeah,
man. We should roll that thing over, right?
Yeah.
Like a skins game.
Well
no
said.
winners, boom. It's like the lottery.
Well
right?
said,
Just had the shit increase every week.
For sure.
Of course, I'm not on the hook for that money, so,
This is week 13 in the NFL. We're previewing week 14 because the Dallas Cowboys just got done playing. So they got another Thursday game. And then I'm sure they'll be off this Sunday. So we will not. We will be back again. Most likely to do a post game for that Cowboys show. And then to do a pregame next Sunday. Same bat time, same bat channel. 10 a.m. Cowboys Standard Time. Some housekeeping notes before we leave, fellas. Right now, we are broadcasting, we're streaming on Facebook, X, Twitch, and Pass the Blunt podcast, our secondary channel, because Pass the Joint podcast got a strike from YouTube last week, a community strike. If you're watching on Pass the Blunt, yeah, it was some garbage. But if you're watching on Pass the Blunt, make sure you head over to Pass the Joint and subscribe. There's 206,000 subscribers, a very large community, very active community on Pass the Joint podcast. You want to be a part of that, but you're more than welcome to start the community on Facebook, start the community on X, Twitch, Instagram once I remember to push the button on Instagram. But until next time, this is Zen Master with my co-host Joey Flosa to my left, D Brown to my right, Italian American, OG, Mr. Brother, because I weathered the storm.
Indeed.
Straight No Chaser podcast. You take your shot, I'll take mine. Salute the game, gang. We'll see y'all in the next go round. Peace, fellas.
Who you with? Go
You see it.
Cowboys.
You see it.
America's team.